Hi Miss Woodburn, it is Ava, and today I'm presenting to you my culminating video on the volleyball overhand serve. So here's a quick video of me completing the skill, and the three joint movements I'll be talking about today are hip flexion, shoulder circumduction, and trunk rotation. The first joint movement amplified in this clip is the hip flexion needed to take a step forward while hitting the ball. This movement occurs along the sagittal plane as it is a movement that brings the body more forward. It also occurs around the horizontal axis. The bones that articulate to allow for hip flexion are the femur and pelvis, specifically the pubis and ischium of the pelvis. These bones together form a ball and socket joint as the head of the femur fits into the groove or hole of the pubis like a ball and socket. The agonist muscle of hip flexion is the iliacus, which originates on the iliac crest and inserts on the lesser trochanter. The antagonist is the gluteus maximus, which originates at the iliac crest and the sacrum and inserts at the greater trochanter. The synergist muscles would be psoas major and rectus femoris. Psoas major originates on L1 to L5 and inserts at the lesser trochanter. Rectus femoris originates at the anterior inferior iliac spine and inserts on tibial tuberosity. The second joint movement that I emphasized in this clip is shoulder circumduction, which is used to swing my arm forward during the serve in order to hit the ball. Because circumduction involves flexion, extension, abduction, and adduction of the shoulder, I'll be focusing on abduction because I've already talked about flexion at the hip. The AB and adduction portion of this movement occurs along the frontal plane and around the antero-posterior axis. The bones that articulate to allow for shoulder circumduction are the clavicle, scapula, and humerus, as they work together to allow the full range of motion for circumduction. The shoulder is another example of a ball and socket joint, as the head of the humerus fits into the cavity of the scapula. The agonist for the abduction portion of shoulder circumduction is supraspinatus. Supraspinatus originates on the supraspinous fossa and inserts into the greater tubercle. The antagonist of abduction is the infraspinatus, which originates at the infraspinous fossa and inserts at the greater tubercle. The synergist for this movement is teres minor, which originates on the lateral border of the scapula and inserts at the intertubercular groove. The third and final joint movement that I show in this clip is trunk rotation. This joint movement is needed during the wind-up and follow-through portion of the volleyball serve in order to produce enough force to hit the ball. This movement occurs along the transverse plane because this is a twisting movement and around the longitudinal axis. The bones that articulate to allow for trunk rotation are the vertebral column, specifically the thoracic and lumbar regions. Your vertebral column is not a synovial joint, but instead is a cartilaginous joint, which allows for less movement than synovial joints. The agonist for trunk rotation is your external obliques. Your external obliques originate on your lower ribs and insert on linea alba. The synergist for trunk rotation is your internal oblique muscles, which originate on the pubic bone and iliac crest and insert on linea alba as well. The antagonist muscles for trunk rotation are actually just your obliques that are on the opposite side of the direction that you're rotating. Newton's third law of action and reaction best applies to the skill of the overhand volleyball serve. This is because when the player swings their arm forward and contacts the ball, their hand applies force to the ball, which is the action, and the ball applies an equal and opposite force back to the hand, which is the reaction. This results in the ball accelerating forward over the net. The more force applied to the ball when you hit it, the more force that will be applied back towards your hand. Each energy system plays an important role in the sport of volleyball. The ATP-PC system is the primary system that provides energy to players during explosive movements like the overhand serve, spikes, or jumps for blocking. The ATP-PC system supplies energy for 0 to 10 seconds of all-out max efforts, which is needed for many movements in this sport. Glycolysis, or the anaerobic lactic system, supports shorter bursts of energy but longer than the ATP-PC system for activity that lasts anywhere between 1 to 2 minutes. This system is used for rallies which contain multiple jumps, digs, blocks, and spikes, as well as multiple consecutive plays without rest. Cellular respiration is also used in the sport of volleyball during rest periods, in between rallies for recovery, as well as endurance over a long match or back-to-back games during tournaments. Because cellular respiration is slower and produces a lot more ATP than the anaerobic systems, it is crucial to delay feeling tired and ensure recovery between intense periods. I believe that the most important training adaptations that a volleyball player would acquire after training for a long period of time are those of the cardiovascular system. This is because these adaptations improve oxygen delivery, allowing players to recover quickly in between rallies and maintain high performance throughout long games. These adaptations include your heart getting bigger and thicker, increased total blood volume, increased stroke volume, increased number of capillaries, and resting heart rate decreasing. 2 of the 7 biomechanical principles that apply to the sport of volleyball are Principle 2, maximum force production, and Principle 6, torque. Principle 2 states that to generate the maximum amount of force, athletes need to use all possible joint movements through their full range of motion. This is especially important in volleyball when using all possible joint movements in order to jump up high for a block, hit, or jump serve. The principle of torque is also used by advanced players when they snap their wrist while hitting the ball to create topspin. This makes the ball go straight down instead of float, as the ball is hit more towards the top, away from its center of mass. Torque is also used when players hit the ball with as straight of an arm as possible in order to increase the length of their lever arm to hit the ball with more force. That is it for my Culminating. Thank you for listening, and I really enjoyed your class, Miss Woodburn. It was so much fun and such a pleasure to have you as my teacher.